Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, meathead. But again, the only guarantee is if you give up, you're fucked. It's not fucked. You go back to your default of a miserable life where you ought to commit. Are we on camera? Oh, okay. They told me I'm not supposed to say to blow your brains out anymore, but anyway. It's always metaphorically. I would never anyone interview to take your own lives. Pets are hot, though. Big margins. But he did just the opposite. He bought a hospital, which didn't cover the cat. He went right to the wrong one to begin with. But he got lucky because the Egyptians tried to cheat him. Well, that's a given. And I wish, but that's the world. That is the fucking world. But I mean, white people will cheat you too. Believe me, it's not just, Any questions about Gerard? Yes, sir, in the back.
Oh, what's the hierarchy he didn't want to say on camera?
He's a Nazi. That's his management style. He's a fucking Nazi. Not dissimilar to mine. And that's not your disposition for the most people. It's just not. It was I've said before, it's easy for me. It's just easy. And his street-wise background and mine, I mean, he was in the street longer than I was. And he got shot in a drive-by shooting, trying to protect his sister, got shot in the back in a gang war. I've got a few kids that have been shot. They don't, but he's shot and cold calling's still hard for him. Because you don't want to be a salesman. I keep saying that. Did you go to medical school to be a shitbag, fucking manure salesman? Is that where you went? 42? You didn't go to 42 years, okay? If you went to 42 years to medical school, you were a retard. You were retarded on top of it. It took you that long. It goes against everything that you've ever learned in your life. But when you overcome it, you may get rich. Now, for a couple of you in the room, being a salesman is a step up 3 or 4 steps. For 2 or 3 of you in the room, and you know who I'm talking about. And for most of you, it's a step down in your mind. You're dirt poor. You don't have a pot to piss in, nor a window to throw the piss out of. But you look down on sales. That always used to amaze me. You have nothing. You're a fucking shitbag. You're living hand to mouth your whole fucking life, but you look down at a salesman. There's something ass backwards about that. You used to make up when your dad was sales on the road. He was selling books on the road or whatever on the road. You called him an industrial engineer because you're too embarrassed to say he's a salesman. And on the road salesman is even worse. It's all ass backwards. The guys that salesmen make the most money. I'm proud of it, I've just elevated my sales skills to countries, governments, sovereign funds. The top salesmen at IBM make as much as the CEO. I bet you the school that you go to, nobody calls their dad a salesman. When our boys went to Dundee High, the headmaster told them, your dad can't be a salesman. I went down to I said, what the fuck are you talking about, old man? Salesmen don't live like this, according to the standards here, for sure. Failed 3 times, pets. Any other questions about Gerard? Now, these are your test scores. I wish that I had been bright enough to invent the success test, but I wasn't. 2 psychiatrists from, I think one from University of, or Boston College, and the other one was from Boston University, where our daughter went to graduate school. And then we invented other tests over the years. And the tests have 99.9% accuracy, but I can only say legally 95. But for all intents and purposes, you can just assume 100. A perfect score on the success test is -3. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we had that many people that got -3. 5. I took the test the first time, I got a -3. Now, we have people take the test 200 times a month. One person. Several people, 200 times a month. The battery of tests, and they still fail. Anelli, super rich. You're going to hear him on the webinar. I take the test over and over and over, and I still fail. How many percent on the super success test fail now, EJ?
Somewhere around
98%. 98% fail. We have people take that test 200 times. It stops counting. The Google Analytics stops counting to 200. So we don't know how many more times they take it. We have stats about people in this room. Some of you have taken it 50, 80, 90 times in this room. We used to embarrass you by that, but I don't do that now. I don't do that. Because I'm kind of gentleman now, Doc. If you look down the success test row, now you all know what you got. 1 minus 2, 12. You should be institutionalized. The person that got 12 in this room. You belong in an institution. Does everybody understand if you should be institutionalized, what that means? You're batty as shit. You're Fruit Looped. Then we got 8. Although the stats say you shouldn't be institutionalized, but I say, based on my experience, you should also be in the institution, in the room right next to the 12. Minus 1, 2, 5. 5, you're borderline sick. 4, 3, minus 3, minus 3, 4, 2, 0, minus 2, minus 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, 1, minus 2, 0. If you got higher than 0, something's not right with you. Which is most of you. We used to have, in the 90s, we'd have a pretend doctor come with, you know how they used to wear those things over their head and come and take the 12 guy away. But that, I'm told, had detrimental effect on some of the guys. When they drag them away, like let's say one of the Doofus brothers. And the other Doofus brother comes to try to help him, right? The brothers still help each other, just fuck you, take them away. I think one of you at least would say, fuck you, take them away. So that's what I got to start with. When I tell you the human race is sick, I am not bullshitting. So then we add a test. Well, maybe there's other tests. 96% used to flunk the success test, getting above 0. That's a flunk, okay? And so then we added, the depression test and the optimist test are just verify the success test scores. I'm not going to go through that, okay? But then the super success test, for example, Leanne got a super success perfect score. Thank you very much, young lady. I'm not surprised. Okay. She also got a -3, if I remember correctly. I'm not surprised. The numbers are for real. Some of you, metaphorically speaking, I can show you how to cut your wrist the right way. But there's still some of you are up there. So we can flip a 12 to a 0 with great difficulty, but we can. And who fucked you up? Your parents. If this was caveman world, you'd go home and kill your parents. Metaphorically speaking, of course. Because they fucked you up. Some of you are fucked up almost beyond recognition. There's a new kind of silence in the room right now. There should be. There should be. It's only 99% accurate. Only 99. Anybody have any questions to ask me about the test? We have razor blades and knives. Do it off the estate, though. Too much paperwork. Not for me. I don't do anything. You know, I'm certainly not going to fuck with you paperwork. And this is better than the people that don't come here. As sad as these numbers are, you're better than the people that don't come here. For whatever reason you convince yourself, you cajoled yourself, for the sick ones especially, you're here. The second level are the meathead, moron, retards that are on YouTube. And then the other ones are the ones that just say I'm a foul-mouthed psycho, like the protesters. And the numbers continue to get worse. They continue to get worse. If I had a golden thing or a platinum level to say, I'd say you can get better, but they just continue to get worse. Year after year, they get worse and worse and worse. Because it's just generation after generation of bad parenting. No goals or low goals. No low standards or no standards. And it continues to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But the people you're buying from are worse. Otherwise, how can a 12 retard that should have never been born buy and create $100 or $400 or $500 million? Because the people you're buying from are worse than you. They're sicker than you. They got lower self-esteem than you. They've got less confidence in you. And I can go down the list. It's our time. I thought until Ukraine, it could never get better. Thank you, God. Thank you. I'm an overnight success at 76 and a half. And you kids are making more money than the kids 20 years before you in this program. And this program is, I'm the only program that talks about numbers. There's nobody else. Why? Because the other programs don't produce any numbers. They produce, the word is hyperbola or hyperbole. One super success. My girl. And she's not sitting there like in school. They used to be when a guy or a girl would sit in the front row and they bring apple to the teacher. You know, I don't know if they do that anymore. At Dundee High, they didn't do it. You know, the headmaster said in his 41, he's dead now, 41 years, nobody's ever brought me anything, Mr. Peña. I believe, okay? Of course, they never turned the heat on one time where our boys were there. We don't want to spoil the children, he told me. I remember that. I still remember that. But this And the reason I go through the test like this is because the people out there are sicker than you. We've had several psychiatrists come to here. And famous Indian psychiatrist, can't use his name. His wife is a psychiatrist, his daughter and son are psychiatrists, his mother and father were psychiatrists, and his grandparents were psychiatrists. Big name. And he says, Mr. Peña, we're all sick, we're just sick in different ways. But we're all sick. And having done this was about 20 years ago, having done this now another 20 years after him, boy, do I believe it. I could give a testimonial to that family or smart Indian shrinks. But we're all sick. Now, I'm sick in a different way, but I on these kind of tests, I score dynamite. I score like Attila the Hun. And you score like somebody just raped you, you know. Okay, so there's normally not many questions about this, so we'll move right on. But remember it. You heard Gerard, and funny enough, pet care is considered in the healthcare. They don't differentiate in the big numbers between pets and humans in the overall numbers. Except for pet care is growing instead of almost 20% like human healthcare, it's growing at about 30, a little less than 30% a year. Big money, big margins. And unlike Gerard, you don't have to buy the hospital the first time out, you know. In fact, we highly recommend you don't. But he's going to be moving from Manhattan now. When he doubles in size in the next year and a half, he'll be moving out to Brooklyn and some other places. But whenever we start a roll-up, the idea is we're already planning our exit. The only two exceptions are if you're building a legacy business to turn over to your family, kids, and a conglomerate, because it's harder to exit a conglomerate. It's not other than to another conglomerate, and they're going to pay you low multiples. So most of the conglomerate guys and gals wind up doing legacy business. So they may not have started a legacy, but when they see that they're not making the arbitrage between 4, 5, 6 times cash flow to 12 to 15 times, they're only making maybe 8 or 9 times cash flow, they decide to continue to build the conglomerate. Now, Anelli's goal when he came here was to be the richest man on the African continent. Now, that would be because King Howard is a lot richer than Jeff on these guys. And so, that would mean the richest guy on the planet, because the African continent is up there with Middle East and the whole thing. And so, based on his 30-month history, he's doing terrific. So now, we've done this roll-up. And I'm getting back to elephants hunting now. And again, that's fine. You know, if the Carlings want the elephant hunt, that's terrific. They got a bunch of track record, okay? But to start, I just want to tell you, the odds are against you. They just are. And that's why I would rather have you make it the second tier after the first tier. But your frame of reference of putting deals in the funnel is different. Now, assuming you did it the first time, now your lawyers, accountants, and board members should have their kimonos up and they're giving you everything they have. Because now you've done 20 or 30 deals and you've proven yourself. Okay? And they pulled out money and they have shares that are worth something. And then you ride them hard. You lean on them hard. To get deals. And you would probably say, I want deals 50 million and above. That's it, 50 million. And you'll look at a 35 million, I mean, basically 50 and up. You don't say 50 to 100, you say 50 and up. 50 and up. And if your accountants and your lawyers do not comply, you're changing accountants and lawyers. Anelli has now 3 accounting firms and 3 law firms. And he teases them vis-a-vis how much business that he can bring in, deals that he can acquire. A new law firm that he just added brought him, I believe, the Swedish deal. And I told you, he likes those white boys up in Scandinavia. He thinks it's like, and those were the Vikings originally. I can tell him that. They were supposed to be really tear your ass up, right? Well, something happened to them. Well, Scotland, from the Picts and the Vikings, something happened. That killer instinct is no longer here. But you really have to lean. And you want somebody now on the board. Remember, the board's in transition. You want somebody now on the board that has done the big deals. The big deals. Now, most people, like you guys in business, some of you are 5, 10, 20 years in business, you've been in business 1 year, you've got experience 1 year 20 times. You haven't learned anything more than you learned in the first 2 or 3 years that you were in business. And now when you go to LinkFuck, your shit changes. You'll say, directors, free founders equity for directors involved in deals greater than 50 million, greater than 100 million, whatever the number is. And then when there's a couple of my kids in there, greater than $1 billion. Those are the dinosaur guys. So you change the bait in the Venus flytrap. And they will come. There's guys and gals on that board, on those boards, that have been involved in, multi-billion-dollar deals. There are. And sometimes that will awaken the sleeping giants. They're not interested in this startup shit, but they are interested if you're going to go after big acquisition candidates. Okay, YouTube, thank you.